Or everyone, welcome back. So pretty much daily, or at least weekly, I check out if there's any big kind of publishers out there talking about the Division 2. And we've got this article from yesterday which says Tom Clancy's The Division 2 will have to face the Reaper sooner or later. And this is coming from Game Rant. It says that Tom Clancy's Division 2 has been very popular since its release, but after 5 years of content, its final days may soon be upon it. And I wanted to cover this because this doesn't feel to me like how the Division 2 is right now, at least from my perspective. Because the way I see it is Division 2 is probably got more resources now from Ubisoft, or at least from Massive, than it's probably ever had. And so it's a little bit surprising to me to read this title. Maybe Game Rant knows something that we don't. Quite often a lot of these big publishers will put out articles like this or other articles where they've had interviews and all that sort of stuff, and you get some good kind of nuggets of information, maybe stuff that we don't know about. So it's possible that in this article they know something that we don't know, and I hope they're wrong, because this doesn't sound great. So let's check it out. Let's see what Game Rant is talking about here. So those are the highlights. We'll come back to that in a minute. It says, Tom Clancy's Division 2 has been going strong since 2019, and Ubisoft seems committed to making it the best that it can be. While not perfect, it was a major improvement on 2016's Tom Clancy's Division, and players everywhere seem to flock to it. Controversial. I think there'll be a lot of people that would disagree with this statement about it being an improvement over Tom Clancy's Division. I think that's partially right. It depends what you consider a major improvement. If we're talking about the actual game itself in terms of how it feels to play it, then I would actually say Tom Clancy's Division is better. It's got some survival game mode. It's set in New York in the winter. I think the atmosphere, generally speaking, is just way better. Story-wise, I think the Division 2 is certainly better than the Division is. Certainly now, maybe not to begin with, but definitely where it is currently. I think the modes in the Division were just better. Survival and all the others were better. I think they're better than the Division 2 is. But the Division 2 has the living open world, which we never got in the Division. And I think it's something that the Division definitely should have had. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people have said for a long time that if they married the Division 1 with the Division 2 and took like the best bits from both, then we'd have an incredible Division 3. It's kind of what they've done a little bit with Division Resurgence, the mobile game. So yeah, that's a controversial statement. People will agree, people will disagree. I'm kind of, it is and it isn't in many ways. This has helped make it a massive success for the studio and has cemented the Division as one of Ubisoft's biggest franchises. Even with all of that, Tom Clancy's Division 2 last days could still be around the corner. And yeah, this is absolutely one of the biggest franchises for Ubisoft. I remember when the Division came out, I think it broke Ubisoft's sales record or something for like one day or for a week or something crazy, and it was massive. The Division 2 also did incredibly well. It didn't meet their expectations, I don't believe, but then when you've had the Division come out and break records, their expectations are pretty high. Division 2 did really well, there's no doubt. It says online games only exist if players are playing them, and Tom Clancy's Division 2 has been able to build a decently sized player base over the years. However, those player numbers are likely dwindling as the game's 5th year of content rolls out. On top of that, rising competition in the online shooter space and the upcoming Tom Clancy's Division Heartland could mean the Division 2 content stream will have to come to an end soon. While it will likely not shut off tomorrow, players may want to start considering that Ubisoft may move on soon. So to start with, in terms of the player base size, I don't know what the player base size is. Astrocross made a video where he was talking about the banning of players following the glitches and whatnot. And in that video, he actually showed a screenshot of player numbers, and they were much higher than what I thought they were. I don't know how accurate they were, but the average kind of players in the Division 2 was way higher than I thought it was. With that said, if you check out some content creators Division 2, they're still getting really high numbers for videos. So it does say that there is a player base there. Whether they're playing the game or they're just waiting in the background, I don't really know. It talks about rising competition in the online shooter space. Okay, but I don't think there's really any other game out there that competes with the Division 2 for an online looter shooter game. Destiny 2, yeah, sure, is definitely up there. But but that's kind of coming to its end of its first saga, and I don't really know what's happening with Destiny 2 after the Light and Dark saga, after Final Shape. And then aside from Destiny, I don't know any other game that really comes close to it. So I don't think we have to worry about that at all. And then they're talking about Division Heartland, but Division Heartland is a PvP game. You know, it's like Tarkov, it's like a Battle Royale game. It's not gonna, whilst it may take some players away from the Division 2, it's a different experience. It's for PvP, and I think the Division 2 is basically PvE at this point. So, again, I kind of don't agree there. It says, Tom Clancy's Division 2 has had its time to shine. Ubisoft has been adding so much exciting content to Division 2 since its release to keep players coming back for more. Not only has it introduced new loot and mechanics, it's also added brand new modes and taken the story in new directions. The studio also took a step further with the release of Warlords of New York expansion that brought players back to New York City for a new type of Division 2 experience. All these updates have helped keep this game alive for 5 years. Ubisoft has recently kicked off the Division 2's 5th year and has plans to add to the game considerably over the next couple of months. While the first season is mostly just focused on a new manhunt mission type, future seasons will add new stories, bring back players to New York, and include brand new zones. The exact specifics of these updates have not been revealed yet, but it does sound pretty exciting for the Division 2 players. Couldn't agree more. And I said this at the beginning. At this moment in time, I feel like Ubisoft and Massive are investing more in the Division 2 than they ever have. The fact that we know we're getting at least 1 more year's worth of content, and I'm guaranteeing you we're getting a year 6. I'll talk about that in a moment. And we know we're getting, new story content in this year and all that sort of stuff. With new modes, we've got incursions coming back for the next season. There's a lot going on in the Division 2 at the moment. There's a lot coming in the Division 2, I'm sure of it. And so there is a lot to be excited for this game. Whether it be 5 years old or 1 year old, 10 year old, it don't really matter. The game has a lot coming in the next year that we know of, and there's going to be more to that, I'm sure. So it says, while all that sounds great, it also comes at a time when Ubisoft is preparing to launch 2 new Division titles. The studio is currently testing a new mobile game, The Division Resurgence, which is supposed to bring an authentic Division experience to mobile platforms. It's also launching a brand new free-to-play Division game named The Division Heartland. Heartland will be bringing the series to a new locale and feature a whole new way to play. No official release date yet has been revealed, but it's supposedly launching sometime in 2023 or 24, and that keeps getting pushed back as well, Heartland. In terms of The Division Resurgence, I don't think there's a crossover of mobile players and console and PC players. I don't see any kind of crossover. I mean, there might be marginal crossover. Really, there isn't. I think if you're playing the Division Resurgence, it doesn't mean that you're not going to be playing the Division 2. I could understand that point being made if it was the Division Heartland, kind of. But certainly when it comes to mobile games and then PC and console games, I don't think there's really any kind of overlap. So I don't think it matters that we're getting the Division Resurgence. I don't think that's going to have any impact on the future of the Division 2. It says, that is a lot of content for the Division fans to look forward to, but that may not be a good thing for the Division 2's future. If Heartland is more popular in the Division 2, then there is a chance that Ubisoft focuses its resources on expanding that game instead. All these titles could also fracture the Division's fanbase, and they may have to start competing for players' attention. While that remains to be seen, there is a strong chance that throwing 2 or more games into the mix could hurt the Division 2 immensely. So, as I've just said with the mobile game Resurgence, I don't think so, at all. I don't think it's going to have any effect on the player base for the Division 2. Heartland, yeah, I understand the point with Heartland. And of course, Heartland is a PvP game, Division 2 is a PvE game. And that's kind of, for me, that's where I disagree, because they're 2 different games. If Heartland was a PvE game, then yes, I would totally understand. What I will say is, if you look at something like Warzone, for example, when that game started popping off, then yeah, you could see from the developers that they were focusing more on Warzone than they were on the Call of Duty games. I mean, the Call of Duty games generally haven't been focused on a whole lot for years and years and years and years. I mean, the next iteration of the new Call of Duty was a Modern Warfare 3. I don't know what it is. I don't follow it anymore. That's meant to actually be going back old school, I believe, but I don't know. Probably not. But yeah, they did focus more on Warzone, and they really invested in Warzone. But, Warzone and Call of Duty were both PvP games. So you could say, well, of course. There is a possibility that if Heartland does really well, that Ubisoft focus more on Heartland than they do on the Division 2. There is a real possibility of that. Of course, I want Heartland to be successful. And the reason I want Heartland to be successful is because I really feel like if Heartland is successful, that you're going to have the best of both worlds. You're going to have that really successful PvP game in the Division universe, but then you're going to have the Division 2, the PvE side. And you might find that people who've never played the Division 2, who play Heartland, which will be a free-to-play game, decide then to go and play the Division 2. And the same with Resurgence. People might play Division Resurgence, who've never played a Division game before, and then they go over to the Division 2. And I really feel like it all kind of feeds in together, so I don't think it'll be that much of a big deal, but there is a possibility that it hurts the Division 2. There's no doubt. I just don't think it will. Moving on, it says studios tend not to have multiple online titles in the same franchise going at the same time. Ubisoft is approaching Division 2 a bit differently. Division 2 is still an incredibly popular game, but some players may head off to the entries instead. The game is also entering its 5th year, and players may be looking for something new. That could mean that the Division 2 only has so many seasons left in it, but time will only tell. Of course, the Division 2 has only so many seasons left in it, as does every other game. But let's look at what's coming for the Division 2. We know we're getting a Year 5 for the Division 2. Right? We know we're getting Season 2, 3 and 4. And we know that with Year 4 we're getting a DLC, right? We're getting new missions, new zones. There's going to be some changes to the end game and stuff. I think Season 4 is going to be a massive update for this game. I really, really do. And so I'm guaranteeing you that we're going to get a Year 6. Because there's no way Massive are going to, and Ubisoft are going to invest so much time and effort into the last season of Year 5 when they're going to be making changes to the end game and all this sort of stuff if they're not going to be doing at least a Year 6. And you can also look at the most recent news that we got about the Division 2. The fact that they're extending seasons to 4 months instead of 3 months so that they can work on the technical side of the game. They're not going to invest all of that time and all of that effort into the technical side of this game if they're not planning on adding more and more content over the next coming years. It doesn't make any sense, right? It's going to go beyond Year 5 for sure. I'm guaranteeing you there's a Year 6. Does it go beyond Year 6? I don't know. But it seems like the game is being built to last for a long time. I think until we get a Division 3. I really do think we're getting a Division 3. Maybe not anytime soon, but I think in the next 3-4 years, I think we'll get a Division 3. I really do. Especially if Heartland pops off and all this new content being added to Division 2 keeps the player base thriving and adds more players. I really feel like we're going to get a Division 3 at some point. So for me personally, just looking at this article, I get it, I understand the concern, but I really disagree that the final days of the Division 2 are coming soon. I really disagree, and I think you've got to look at the game where it is now, what they're adding to the game, the investment in the game. You know, Ubisoft are investing a lot of money into this game, to the technical side of this game, to get this technical side of this game up to scratch. They're actually delaying each season by a month, which means that's another month where Ubisoft are getting no money for those new passes for every season, right? They wouldn't do that if they didn't feel like the Division 2 has a future and they weren't investing in the future of the game. So I disagree with this article, but I understand the concern. Let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Thanks very much for watching. Until the next one, Epic out.